Hello, here's Movie Fanatic Nate coming at you for a movie review. This time I'm coming at you to review the movie by the name of House. Well, the sticker's covering it, but House. This is a DVD that I bought previously viewed from Hollywood Video, looks like, for 10 bucks. I'd never seen this movie before, I don't think. Maybe I got it on VHS prior, but anyway, I thought it may be, regardless, I thought I'd get the DVD even if I did have it. This is directed by Steve Miner, who, you know, of course, directed before this Friday the 13th Part 2 and Part 3 in 3D. But House is a movie that I never grew up with. I didn't see until I was, whatever, late 20s, early 30s or whatever. Ding Dong, You're Dead. I mean, it was a cover that I was familiar with, and I kind of liked the cover. It's really ironic that, I mean, this cover, in my opinion, is just stupid, you know. And then they use that cool painting from the, you know, the poster in the letters there. Just like use the whole painting, which is so cool, of that floating, rotting finger ringing the doorbell. But I don't understand why. I should do a separate video about just stupid covers when you have fantastic original theatrical painting artwork and then just stupid covers. But I'm not gonna review the DVD. I just wanted to show you what I have. So the whole reason I rewatched this movie and I'm reviewing it is because Arrow Films is going to be releasing a presumably fantastic double feature collection of House 1 and 2, The Second Story, which is a fantastic title. Like the second story part was really kind of a cool, clever thing. I don't think I've seen House 2, and I don't really plan to see House 2, to be honest, because unfortunately for you House fans it doesn't really matter, but because unfortunately I'm not a fan of this movie. I saw it back probably when I bought this, whenever it was, and then I just recently rewatched House because, like I say, Arrow Video is going to be putting out a cool House 1 and 2 collection. And I thought, well, let's watch, you know, do I like House? Because if so, I'll buy the collection and then get Part 2. So I watched this, or rewatched this for the first time in a while, and unfortunately, this movie doesn't do anything for me. This came out in 1985, so it's a year after Ghostbusters, and I think this is really an attempt to cash in on the success that Ghostbusters did. And although, you know, Ghostbusters was, I think, a PG movie, and this one is rated R, I'm surprised they didn't make this a little more, I don't know what about it really is rated R, but I guess there's stuff that goes on in it that is more gruesome than PG. But this movie definitely just, to me, it just screams wanting to capitalize on Ghostbusters from the year before. Because it's, you know, came out so close, not long after that movie, maybe, I don't know. That's just, whether that's true or not, that's how the movie plays to me. It plays to me like, oh, Ghostbusters was successful, let's do something along those lines. The tagline, Ding Dong, You're Dead, I gotta put this down, otherwise I keep messing with it, but the tagline, Ding Dong, You're Dead, is cool, although having rewatched this, I don't think anyone, don't quote me, I'm not a fan of this movie, but I don't think anyone dies, or at least dies in this movie and stays dead. First off, this movie, well, as far as I know, it stars this guy who was the boyfriend of that one popular girl from Carrie, the guy who takes Carrie to the prom in the original Carrie movie. I think it's that guy. I mean, I kind of like the guy as a performer, and just, you know, I liked that movie, so I liked him in that movie, and I kind of liked the guy just because he's kind of, I don't know why I like the guy, but at least, you know, at least I kind of like the guy in the movie, and it's just not a movie of just like, suffering through it. So the movie's basically about, God, I can't even remember, I think does his aunt or mom, I can't remember, the beginning of the movie is like this old woman like hangs herself in her bedroom or something like that, and I don't know if it's his aunt or his mom, probably his aunt or something, and he inherits this guy who took Carrie to the prom in the first Carrie movie, original. I think it's his aunt. I think he inherits the house. I don't know if he's recently divorced or regardless, he's divorced from his former wife, of course. Well, not of course, but, well, yeah, mostly. Anyway, in this movie, he's divorced from his former wife. It's kind of the thing I don't like about this movie is the subject matter is a little too serious for me, in that, like, the son was kidnapped. Like, when this movie starts, the backstory, which we don't see, the movie just starts with this backstory, is that, I don't know if that's the reason for the divorce, but the son was, it's just, I don't know, I mean, it's just, I think it's just, I don't know, personally, it's just too serious of subject matter to be, I don't know, long story short, I just don't like that subject matter. I just think it's really just too serious or whatever for just a goofball horror movie. But that's the story we come into when we start this movie, is that this guy's son, this guy and his former wife's son had been kidnapped. I can't remember how many years before this movie starts, but regardless, this guy is a writer, famous writer, who, I don't know if he hasn't written maybe he only had one hit or something like that. I think he's trying to work on another book or something like that, but regardless, I think his aunt hangs herself, presumably possessed by this house. I can't remember why this house is, I watched this, pardon me, like weeks ago or something like that, so forgive me. Yeah, I don't remember all the details. I can't remember why this house is all haunted or whatever, if that's what happens in this movie. But anyway, this guy comes in, he basically moves into the house, and I think he's trying to write this book. Oh yeah, this is another thing I don't like about this movie. His character I think was in Vietnam or something like that. And this whole movie does these flashbacks throughout the whole movie I think he's writing a book about his experience in Vietnam. I don't know if he's embellishing it and making, probably making himself seem all heroic and shit like that. I can't remember. Maybe he wasn't, I think he was in Vietnam. But Richard Mall of Night Court fame is in this movie as, like, he ends up being this guy he served with in Vietnam. He ends up being kind of his mortal or immortal, however you want to look at it, enemy as the movie progresses, and towards the end of the movie, where basically, I'm assuming this guy, Richard Mall character, I don't know if the character of this movie left him to die in Vietnam or what, but I think he died in Vietnam. And so the movie is a flashback of what's going on currently with, this guy moving into the house and trying to write, and weird things going on, and meeting his next door neighbor, Norm from Cheers, just fat ass or fat stomach. His stomach's fatter than his ass probably. Just guy, I guess some kind of decent comic relief. I mean, I don't hate that guy, he's just, I don't know how he lived as long as he did with his physical condition. So Norm is okay, I guess, okay in the movie or whatever, and maybe some of the funnier bits or whatever. So he's writing this book, so we see flashbacks from Vietnam, flashbacks with Richard Mall, and from what I can remember, like in those flashbacks, there's some, just like, going back and forth there's some tension between the Richard Mall character and our star from Carrie's Date or whatever. So I can't really remember what the hell the whole deal with this movie is. Oh my gosh, this movie even features an appearance by a guy who was in Ghostbusters. The guy who played I don't know, is he the realtor? I don't know who the hell, or is this guy's agent? I don't know who the hell the guy is in this movie, but the guy who was like the manager of that hotel in Ghostbusters or whatever. I had no idea so much, I won't pay it. That guy, I think he's in this movie too, which is another thing that made me think about Ghostbusters. Like, oh, that movie did good, we gotta get at least one person from the movie in it. But I could be wrong about it's only a year after Ghostbusters, so maybe that movie hadn't done good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just when I watched this recently, it's just like, oh man, it just screams Ghostbusters. Long story short, there's this like sexy woman across the street, and it was just like, ooh boy, this is rated R, hopefully this goes somewhere. And it's like, she's like, oh, seems all interested in this guy who recently divorced, or regardless, or I don't know if it's recent, but he's divorced anyway. And she shows up again with just like dropping her son off, and it's just like, oh, I don't think she really likes him. She just wants to drop her son off so he can take care of him. This movie's just nonsensical to me. And then you got all this stuff going on with these, I don't even remember what happens. Like, one of the coolest things about the movie for me is there's like floating garden utensils, or like shears and like an axe, I think, and a, you know, like a pitchfork, and just floating dangerous garden stuff that chases him around for a while. Then presumably his wife shows up, his ex-wife shows up, and turns out to be some ghost, and just like fat. Then she turns into this fat, like, just, you know, blob wearing her dress and stuff. And oh, that's right, the garden shears cut her head off. I think the blob's head off and stuff. Anyway, long story short, what happens in this movie, like, I don't know, whatever happens in this movie at the end of the movie doesn't really happen. Somehow he's able to go into some other dimension through a mirror and actually find his lost son. I can't remember if the undead version of Richard Moll's character kidnapped his son from the get-go or what, but at any rate, at the end of this movie, a kind of zombified Richard Moll character with a horrible, I mean, it looks good otherwise, but when there's close-ups of this makeup, you can see when the mouth opens, this makeup, that's Richard Moll and his rotting former, you know, Vietnam vet or former Vietnam soldier rotting corpse makeup. The makeup's fine, but when they show a close-up of the face and he's doing too much of that, like, opening his mouth, you can see his real mouth, like, in the black of the, what's supposed to be just, like, black frickin' nothingness inside there. This movie, like, I don't know, when they have stuff like that in makeup and that fat tubby, you know, ghost in his ex-wife's dress and stuff, it's like too lit for me, like, and then that thing that comes out of the closet, it's just, it's way too brightly lit for all these really stupid mechanical, some of this makeup, in my opinion, and mechanical stuff. I was just like, gosh, this stuff looks so stupid, like it's way too lit for my, you know, in my taste. So at the end of the day, he ends up, you know, everything, this is just haunted house, whatever, I don't know why it's haunted or whatever. He ends up being able to, this character, main character, ends up being able to go into the mirror and recovers his son and, like, comes up out of the pool with his son. It just makes absolutely, of course, you know, a ghost movie doesn't have to make sense because it's, you know, supernatural or whatever, but I don't really go in for supernatural, as I've said before in so many reviews of, I guess, probably supernatural movies. I'm more of a just, and I've said it before, just, you know, killer, you know, flesh and blood or flesh and undead like Jason or whatever. Well, I mean, I prefer the, you know, non-zombie Jason as opposed to zombie Jason, but regardless, I just like flesh and blood killers more than supernatural stuff. I guess because I just don't like all of the licenses that supernatural movies take. They just have no rules and just can do it whatever, and it's just this movie just it's just not my kind of movie, basically. So at the end of the day, it's like big happy ending. I think he gets his son back, and zombie Richard Moll terrorizes him at the end of the movie and probably blows him up. I can't even remember what happens to zombie Richard Moll, but like, son is rescued at the end of the movie. Wife probably, you know, they probably embrace. Ex-wife comes back, and happy ending, and it's just like, oh, whatever. So at the end of the day, oh, I haven't really pre-thought of stars for this movie, so I'm going to do it right here on the spot. I'm going to go 1 star out of 4 stars for House. There are things that are cool about it. The sexy, you know, neighbor from across the street. There's a shot where or a scene where she's using a There's a scene where she's using the swimming pool and comes out of it, and I think she's in a one-piece, but still, she's got kind of a nice butt. So you see her butt, and when she's walking away or whatever, and that's kind of cool. That's probably pretty much my favorite part. I mean, I guess the stuff with Norm from Cheers is kind of entertaining, and in a way, I guess, yeah, I wish maybe there would have been a little more of that Norm character in the movie, because he's some of the best stuff to watch. But this movie definitely plays, having rewatched it recently, but like I said, in closing, I will say that very much like wanting to capitalize on the success of Ghostbusters, whether that was the case or not, I don't know. Oh, also, let me not mention, or forget to mention in closing, that Harry Manfredini did the music for this movie, and it's probably like my least, or yeah, I'd say one of my least favorite, if not my least favorite Harry Manfredini score that I can remember hearing. It's, I mean, I can understand, I mean, doing something different, I have no problem with doing something different, and more power to him. But I just, for me, Harry Manfredini is like Friday the 13th movies, even Hills Have Eyes Part 2, the original score, and even Swamp Thing score and stuff. I like that kind of Harry Manfredini. This is just minimalistic Harry Manfredini, which, like I say, doing something different, I mean, is good, I guess, but I just don't like what the outcome of this particular different Harry Manfredini is. It's more, the music in this movie is more understated and stuff like that, so unfortunately, like, Harry Manfredini's work in this movie didn't do much for me either, so that didn't help my liking this movie either. So feel free to let me know what you think of this movie. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you plan to get the Arrow Video Blu-ray collection of House 1 and 2, like little cool set? I mean, part of me wishes I actually liked this movie because that set looks kind of cool, and that way I'd be able to see part 2 and whatever. But I don't like this movie, so I won't be getting the Arrow Video collection of House 1 and 2. Feel free to let me know what you think. I guess that'll do it for my review of House. And I guess we'll catch you next time.